Good evening, everyone. You are listening to WTBU Sports live on WTBU Radio, the beat of Boston University. You can listen in at 89.3 FM, 640 AM, BU Cable Channel 6, WTBUradio.org, or the WTBU Radio app. Be sure to call us in at 617-353-6400. That's 617-353-6400. This is the semester finale of the Monday show. If you've ever wanted to call in and give us your hot takes, now will be your last chance until the end of January. 617-353-6400. And last and most certainly not least, be sure to give us a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at WTBU Sports. MLB is officially in a lockout. For the first time since 1994 to 95, not a single trade can go down. Not a single player can be moved, can be signed. The entire league is on standstill. And I am of the personal belief that this lockout is going to last months, and the 2022 season is not going to start on time. And we'll discuss, but I've got two main reasons for why that is. Number one, I think there is so much beef between the players and owners just from 2020 with the ridiculous disparities in negotiations over safety protocols, how long the season would be, and how much money the players would make. That's number one. Number two, I think that there is an equally large disparity between the two sides when it comes to the league rules. A universal DH, the extra inning rule, the 3-batter minimum rule, a pitch clock, and more and so on and so forth. I don't think there's a single thing that these two sides agree on right now, except that they love the game of baseball, just in general and on principle, that they love the game of baseball. And because of that, I think we're in for a long, grueling, ugly process that will go into next March or April. I hate to be that pessimist like I am with my Yankees and all my New York sports teams right now, but I just think that that's the truth. I'll give my quick 2 cents on the Giants. Listen, I don't think this Giants game was an impressive win on the offensive side. 13-7 with Freddie Kitchens calling the plays.
One good drive.
Whoop-de bleeping do. I mean, honestly, you had Kenny Galladay and Darius Slayton and Evan Ingram healthy, and Chris Myarick, a tight end you've never heard of, catches the passing touchdown. This was just like last week when Andrew Thomas catches the passing touchdown, even though Kadarius Toney was healthy, and they had Galladay and Slayton. On the other side of it, I will say Xavier McKinney, taken at the very beginning of the second round last year, he looks really, really good, continuing to impress as a safety. James Bradbury bounced back in a big way after he gave up a touchdown last week. He basically rendered Devontae Smith non-existent in this game.
Yeah.
Devontae had 2 catches.
He was mad,
Devontae Smith had 2 catches for 22 yards. Awesome.
Yeah,
the Giants picked off Jalen Hurts 3 times. Jalen Hurts probably had his worst performance of the season, completing under 40% of his passes for just 129 yards.
And Jalen's been good this year, man. Like he's been hot. At least coming in. Really, really impressive by the Giants defense. And like that was my thing with the Giants, man. That's what I liked about them last year when they won all those games. Like near the back half of the year was like, okay, they got an identity. They're gonna be a tough defensive team. Like we got our what's his face? I keep forgetting his name. Who got hurt? Your linebacker. Who you got from?
They Blake Martinez.
Yeah, Blake Martinez.
And then in the secondary,
Peppers.
You had Jabril Peppers, who also got hurt. But then you also had Logan Ryan, Pro Bowl corner James Bradbury, Xavier McKinney looks good, and Leonard Williams had double-digit sacks last year. But the pass rush this year is non-existent.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys have no moves. They have nothing. The defense won this game for them because what became so clear is that we know the Giants' offensive line is atrocious. Dave Gettleman was brought in to fix it. He's made it worse, if you would believe it. Paying Nate Solder, disaster.
Bad.
Drafting Will Hernandez, disaster. Bad. The only guy he seems to have hit on is Andrew Thomas, who, when he's been healthy this year, he looks good. He didn't look great last year. That's fine. Not every tackle's going to be like Tristan Wirfs on Tampa Bay, where they're going to hit the ground running like that and be a superstar, or Rashawn Slater Jr. this year on the Chargers. Not every tackle prospect's going to be a grand slam right away, but he looks good. The other 4 spots on that line, Billy Price, a former first-round pick
that doesn't sound
from the
good.
Bengals,
That doesn't sound
is
good.
horrible. Oh. No communication. He's falling down, running into his fellow linemen on plays. Nate Solder...
Former Patriots legend.
Nate Solder looks like a stick figure with how quickly he's getting pushed and shoved around. I mentioned Will Hernandez. Left guard, Matt Skura, a pickup off the trash heap from the Ravens and other teams.
It's tough.
The O-line is horrible. Saquon Barkley has negative, not even a zero chance, negative chance to look like the Saquon from 2018 with this O-line. Negative chance. Daniel Jones has negative chance to survive and become a good quarterback in this league.
Who could have had a chance this year? I've been liking some Daniel Jones stuff
Seriously,
this year.
he's had a lot of lowlights. Don't get me wrong.
No,
he was abhorrent against the Bucs, but he's also had some good games.
Yeah, his best year to date.
We saw in the one game this year where the team was healthiest against the Saints, Andrew Thomas was healthy. Matt Pert was playing some tackle. He's not great, but he's better than Nate Solder, and all the weapons were healthy, including Saquon. Jones ended up with, I think he threw for over 400 yards in that game, and he was insane. But we haven't seen that before. We didn't see that before. We haven't seen it since, and we're not going to. They go to American on the road for the semis, and they go out with a whimper, scoring just 48 points, being held to 16 points at halftime. 16 points at halftime. The offense woke up way too late. 3 starting players, or starting caliber players, foul out of the game. A very unceremonious end to a season that had BU as a lock halfway through to win it all. And they completely collapsed.
What I think is incredibly frustrating, and I'll just bring up 2 games. American at home in the regular season on January 8th, where they won by 23 points, and American on the road where they lost by 22 points. That much of a swing. I know there's, a good almost 2 months in between that, but, when you're as good as BU and as talented as they are, you kind of just got to pin that on, wow, that was a really bad performance, and these girls just didn't really step up on the day, because even with the Army game, when Elise Fallon put in a ridiculous performance, they were able to cope. They were red hot from 3. They showed how good they were. And then just go on the road in American and turn into a completely different team.
Well, I hear what you're saying. You have to keep something in mind, though. American does not lose on their home court. You know what their home record was this year? 16-1.
Okay, but there's reasons for everything, and I think that's I get that.
BU was not the only team to have a swing like that.
So
every single good team in the Patriot League, basically the whole top 6, Army, Lehigh, Bucknell, Holy Cross, and BU, all 5 of those teams split with American. Everybody beat American on their home court. Everyone lost to American at American. It's not a BU exclusive thing. It's an entire Patriot League thing. American, whether it's the depth perception at Bender Arena in DC, or it's a totally mental thing, or both, the fact of the matter is they are the toughest team to beat at home.
I think I get that, and I understand the home court advantages can be better than others, and obviously American were dominant at home this year. But when you have the knowing that you beat a team by 20 plus points, which is not easy to do in college basketball, and whatever the case may be, I still think it's a flaw on everybody. If you can beat a team at your home court, but you get blown out by them on the road, I don't think just because this team happens to be good at home, that's an excuse. I think that's a fault on everybody that is able to crush them at home and lose on the road and get blown out on the road. I think that's bizarre. I think that's
it is bizarre that they went 16-1.
It's mentally fragile from all these teams that they can't put in a decent performance on the road.
You really think these players have it in their head while they're out there on the court that, while Sidney Johnson and company are driving down on offense, passing all around the backcourt, getting it into the baseline, doing their job, you think they're thinking, oh my goodness, no one's ever beaten them here. No, we're not going to do it. We're going to miss these shots.
Okay,
no.
How do you explain 16 points in a quarter, though? How do you explain this draft? That's what I meant. How do you explain 16 points and a half when they just lit up Army at home?
Because Army is nowhere near the caliber of defense that American is. Look at
BU against so many other teams in the Patriot League. BU looked amazing on offense. They played American.
American was the best defense in the conference, and let me explain why. There are 2 things that BU struggled with the most that American was exceptional at. American forces the most turnovers in the Patriot League and allow the lowest 3-point percentage of any team in the Patriot League. 2 things that BU was very prone to all season long, prone to a lot of turnovers, and in their last 4 regular season games were shooting 10% below their season average, averaging just 4 3-pointers a game. And I get it. They dominated against Army in all facets of the offensive game, but you're going to American, who is as good as anybody can be on their home court with those two strengths. It's a recipe for disaster.
Okay, so